President of the United States is with Al Sharpton today. He left the Rose Garden, flew to New York to be with his buddy Al. Not so fast, Mr. President. Not so fast. It wasn't that long ago, was it? The president went to Fort Hood, spoke at a memorial for the men who were murdered there, and then went off and did 2 massive fundraisers for the rest of the day, if not most of the day and night. But something happened at Fort Hood that you're not aware of. Something happened at Fort Hood that you are not aware of when the president was there. The president refused to meet with the Fort Hood victims who were shot in 2009. And they asked to meet with him, and he refused. ABC News' Lee Ferran. I don't know how this snuck into their news, but it did. As Obama spoke of old wounds at Fort Hood this week, the White House declined a request from a survivor of the 2009 massacre there to meet with Obama for a few minutes, so the veteran could explain face-to-face how he believes the government has mistreated and disrespected the victims of that attack. Staff Sergeant Alonzo Lunsford, and may I add, because apparently this is the way things are reported today, Mr. Lunsford is an African-American. He was shot 7 times in November 2009 when when terrorist Nadal Hassan opened fire at Fort Hood, killing 13 people. Despite Hassan's admission that he carried out the attack on behalf of the Taliban and revelations that he'd been in contact with al-Qaeda recruiter Anwar al-Awlaki, the late dead al-Awlaki, the Department of Defense has refused to classify the shooting as terrorism, which the survivors claim in a lawsuit against the government has meant they'd been denied Purple Hearts and combat-related benefits afforded to victims of other terrorist attacks. You know, this is amazing to me. So these people have to fight. They've gone through hell. They're going through hell. They have to fight for what legally belongs to them. Meanwhile, Obama keeps creating programs and handing out benefits and creating legal rights for people who haven't gone through anything. As you may know, the president and high-ranking members of the military promised me, my family, and other Fort Hood terror attack survivors that the federal government would make them whole, quote unquote. After more than 4.5 years, the government has yet to make good on this promise. Lunsford wrote to Obama's chief of staff, Leonard McDonough, a day before Obama's visit. We believe that if the president could hear firsthand our plight and our mistreatment at the hands of his bureaucracy, he would take the steps needed to set things right. Therefore, we ask for 10 minutes of his time. Well, here's the problem, Sergeant. You didn't have $64,000 to go to one of these fundraisers and meet the president. That's all. The White House had announced days before the president would be coming to Fort Worth this week to honor 3 people who were killed in another shooting earlier this month. Part of what makes this so painful is that we've been here before, Obama said at Fort Hood Wednesday, standing at a podium behind the boots, rifles, helmets of the 3 fallen, arranged in the same manner as the 13 others in 2009. Obama said this tragedy tears at wounds still raw from 5 years ago. Once more soldiers who survived foreign war zones were struck down here at home, where they're supposed to be safe. Though he spoke of figurative wounds from 2009, Obama would not meet with Lunsford, who suffered actual wounds that day. What do you think about this? I'll tell you what I think about it. Man has no class whatsoever. No class whatsoever. If there was something political in this for him, he'd act immediately. If there was some benefit in it for him, he'd act immediately. He's overruled his bureaucracy constantly. Remember, he has a pen and a phone. After receiving your letter yesterday and consulting with the White House counsel's office, we forwarded your letter to the Department of Justice and Defense, who are leading the government's efforts to ensure the victims of the 2009 shooting receive the justice and benefits they deserve, wrote Obama's chief of staff. That was written by lawyers, obviously. Unfortunately, we were unable to meet your specific request for a meeting with the president yesterday. Mr. Lunsford, are you a member of the Muslim Brotherhood? No. Oh, well, that's a problem. Because if you were, are you a member of CARE? No. Wow. Are you a member of what is that idiot Sharpton's group? The National Action Network? No. So you haven't, caused any damage? You haven't caused any mayhem? You haven't? No, I serve in the United States military. Well, see, this is your problem. Obama has zero respect for the United States military. Despises it. And meanwhile, Obama is at the National Action Network, which is run by CI7, a.k.a. Al Not So Sharpton. Confidential informant number 7. No problem rubbing shoulders with this guy. None. Can't meet with Lunsford. Can't meet with Lunsford. African-American, in the military, hero, shot 7 times. Can't meet with him. But this puke, Sharpton, sure, he'll meet with him. He'll even fly to New York to meet with him. Didn't have to check with the lawyers on CI number 7. No, well, these new revelations, well, what are you going to do? And so what is Obama doing at the National Action Network convention with confidential informant number 7, Sharpton? What do you think he's doing? He's race baiting. That's what NAN is all about. That's what Sharpton's all about. And quite frankly, that's what so much of Obama's all about. The Voting Rights Act. May I ask a question? This is a real question. Somebody been denied voting in this country because of their race? Who is it? What's their name? Is there one person? 10? 1,000? Who are they? Where are they? Do you know under the Voting Rights Act that the Supreme Court did not overturn, that aspect of the act still allows them to have a personal, individual cause of action under the Federal Voting Rights Act? So it's not as if there's no recourse. But I want to know who these people are who've been denied the right to vote. Where are they? Line them up. Tell us. They must be thousands and thousands of them because apparently this issue won't go away. And then what do? They reverse it. The voter ID. What's the purpose of the voter ID? Well, it's to stop minorities from voting. That's right, because you see, every proposal for a voter identification with a photo is a proposal that says only minorities must show it. Did you know that? Oh, yes. Only minorities must show a photo ID. Whites don't have to. Did you know that? Of course not. It's ridiculous. Everybody would be required to show a photo ID. And they're so hard to come by. Oh, my God. So difficult. The same idiots that set up healthcare.gov. You ever go on there? Go on there. Take a look at it. Somehow, everybody can use that. The dumbest person in America, the poorest, the richest, but a photo ID. No, photo. My God, am I going to get a photo ID? Here's Obama at the National Action Network today. Cut 9, go. Hello?
The right
Cut
to
9,
vote
go.
is threatened today in a way that it has not been since the Voting Rights Act became law nearly 5 decades ago. Across the country, Republicans have led efforts to pass laws making it harder, not easier, for people to vote.
Harder for people to vote. I get so disgusted listening to this guy. I get so disgusted with his demagoguery. Republicans want to make it harder for people to vote. Republicans want to make it harder for people who are not allowed to vote. Republicans want to clean dead people off the lists because they're not supposed to be voting either. Republicans want to make sure that people who move from state to state and are registered in 2 or 3 or 4 states don't vote 2 or 3 or 4 times. Republicans think the vote is so important, the franchise, to every single American, black, white, brown, red, what have you, that they don't believe your vote should be neutralized by a fraudulent vote. All Americans used to support this, except now. The Democrat Party has it as part of its political policy to promote election fraud. Absolutely. To promote election fraud. Because obviously they think it helps them. Photo ID. The Republicans are at it again. The Republicans have never been at it. That would be you guys, Obama, Holder, Sharpton. That would be your party.